Hello, everybody. Let this wind down where it shows I'm on. I guess I'm already on, but it still looks like it's spinning there a little bit. So, anyway, here we go. Let's get this knocked out here. All these little things that pop up. Now we're good. How's everybody doing? Hope you had a good week. Got a great show tonight with my buddy John Dittrich, drummer with Restless Heart, and one of my very favorite country bands, without a doubt. And I know they've got a lot of fans worldwide. It was a big, really big group, still out there hitting it hard. And John is just retired from the band. He was a founding member. I think they got together in maybe '84, so he's been there a long time. Had a great show last week with Sean Camp. I had a lot of good response on him. Going to have next week, Tim Stafford will be my guest. Tim was a longtime member of Allison Krauss in Union Station, and also even a longer member of the band he kind of fronts called Blue Highway. So it's going to be real good talking to him. He was friends with Steve Gully. Uh, they did a couple of records together, so it'll be good having him on the show. Uh, See what else going on. I've had both of my COVID shots, and my second one, my son called and said, "Oh, you're gonna have some problem with that one." And anyway, the next day I went out and installed a radio in my truck. I may have mentioned that last week and had no problem. So I'm still doing good. And as of 2 days ago, I'm about 96, 97% vaccinated because I had the Pfizer 2 dose. Get that if you can. And I always say every week, wear a mask if you don't mind. It's good for a lot of folks out there. You don't really know what's going on with them. I mean, they may be sick and need some protection. So do wear a mask, and I stay on you about that every week. I want to mention I'm working on my dobro record. That's actually not my dobro record. It's going to be a big dobro record. 24 players right now, and they're going to talk more about that as time goes. Um, what I've been doing this week, a few different things. That's what I've been listening to. I've been Gordon Lightfoot. Can't go wrong with Gordo. There he is. Gordon Lightfoot, one of my favorites, and Charlie Waller with the Country Gentleman used to call him Gordon Lightfeet. So anyway, man, I miss Charlie, one of my favorite singers ever with the Country Gentleman. See who I was looking in last night? Marsha Blackburn, Rogish, hello from Pennsylvania. Glad to have you again this week. Scott Kilburn, hello from London, Kentucky. Sound like it's far away from a minute. Allison Robinson, Steve Gully's daughter, glad to have you on. Mara Case, Tennessee, Jason Lawrence. Got a lot of people starting to tune in tonight, so we're glad to have you. Sometimes when we're on here, I'm not able to scroll down and look at everybody, but tonight if you have any questions for John, if you'll put them over there and I can catch them, we'll definitely talk to him about that. But been a nice day around here today. Weather's been good. I went out. Lisa got me some blackberry bushes for my birthday, 4 of them, and I went out to plant them. And I brought a big bunch of what I thought was weeds around the front. Uh, and anyway, I wound up digging up all her wild onions she had planted last year. So yeah, you can buy onions, but you can't buy good blueberries. Or you can, but they cost a lot. So I got my blueberry trees down, and I guess I'll be either making another box for wild onions or just going to the store and getting them. Not sure now, but it's been a good day to be out and planting and stuff like that. I mean, I do know we're going to get cold again, and I'm not foolish about getting plants. going to mess up when it gets cold. But the blueberries will do good, and they're always good in a smoothie, of course. Got my shirt on tonight from. I'm still a little backwards when I go to reach what side. Blue Chip Picks. My old buddy Matt Goins there makes the best pick I've ever used, and it's just great. They don't wear out, and if you look, a lot of your favorite musicians, guitar players, you'll see these brown picks. They're blue chip. And WDVX Radio heard worldwide, but they're right here in my neighborhood in Knoxville. So if any of you folks out there, I'm not going to get on here and beg for anything, but if any of you folks want to have your hat or your shirts featured, send me a private message through Messenger and send me a hat and I'll wear it on the show. Send me a shirt, I'll wear it on the show. And send me a dobro and I'll play it on the show or I'll hang it up. But no, I've got too many of those. I don't know if I've got any more room. So anyway, if you want to send me a hat to advertise your business, send me something through Messenger, and I'll be glad to throw it on. See who else is going on over here. Myra Kay from East Tennessee, she's on tonight. Jason Lawrence, he's on tonight. Pam Hostler Rumsey in Indiana. Yeah, buddy, we're getting in here. And Randy Green, glad to have him on. Jerry Curran, I think I pronounced that right. Let's see, Kevin Ferris from Texas. Gary Gazzardo from Sarasota, Florida. I think that's Sarasota, Florida. My old buddy Marty Rogers, he don't ever miss. He's here tonight saying, howdy, boys. Craig, our Scott Craig, glad to have you. Ray Collette, I think I pronounced that right. Colonial Heights, Virginia. And Richie Chison, he's my buddy from up around Boston, Massachusetts. And let's see, Scott Craig. They're just flipping on down here. My buddy Steve Morton, I went to school with, and I didn't know Steve in school, but thanks to things like Facebook, I've got to know so many people that I went to school with that I didn't know back then. So Steve Morton's one of my good buddies. He's the only guy I know that owns a Cobra, and I'm not talking the Mustang. I'm talking about a Cobra. So I hope if I can mention this a few times, he'll bring it over and take me for a ride in it. Debbie Cantwell, she's out in Washington State. Always glad to have her. And Ed, I think it's Ed Pilgard, North Carolina, Faith, North Carolina. Rex Webb, he says sounding good tonight. Didn't say where he's from. Rick Caldwell, my buddy right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And Greg Pruitt, that's another fellow I went to school with that I didn't know in school, but I've got to know him real well, thanks to Facebook and stuff. And it's kind of what I call the afterlife of high school. You get to meet a lot of people you didn't know that if you'd have known them in school, you'd have probably been really good friends with them. And that's why I say that about Steve Morton and Greg Pruitt, just fine folks. When you post on here, on my feed on the side, most people are doing it, but right where you're from, that means a lot. Rex Webb, Nova, Tennessee, I know where that's at really well. And Mary Pranger said that she just found out recently that John Dittrich is her cousin. So he'll be on here tonight. And you just found out you've got a pretty good relative there. John's one fine guy. Steve Morton, we need to get it cleaned up and we can go rotate the air in the tires. Hey, that sounds good. Just bring it over to the house sometime. I'd like to look at that Cobra, Steve. And anyway, we're getting in a lot of good folks by way of people I'm bringing on like John and stuff. That's really nice because we're starting to get a bigger fan base, I guess, with people coming on. And like I mentioned, Tim Stafford will be here next week. And if you hear barking in the background, that's my two dogs downstairs fighting over a toy or something. So this mic's pretty sensitive, but it's a lot better than the one we used to have that you couldn't hear. But anyway, let's see if there's anything else I need to talk to you about. Uh, let's see. Uh, let me get back. Let me get back to John a little bit here. I'll get over to the side though real quick before I get back to John. Let's see. Don Pringer's from Sebring, Florida, and Ray Plazik is Twinsburg, Ohio, and Randy Green, De Leon, Texas. I think I pronounced that right. My son Matt's in Texas right now trying to get certification for the business he works in. He does, in addition to playing, he does heating and air, so he's getting specified or getting lost the word for it. He's getting certified in running the big generators that take over when your power goes out. So Matt's been down there a few days in Texas. Terry Adams here from Jacksonville, Florida. We're getting people from everywhere. But back to John again. John, I first saw him, and I'm going to bring it up when we talk, but the first time I ever saw them, they were playing at a place called Starwood Amphitheater in Nashville, Tennessee. And they were there with another band that I'm not going to mention who they are, but they were a pretty famous band or a pretty famous guy. And man, Restless Heart came out and they just blew everybody totally away. And I felt sorry for the band who was the big headliner and who's a big artist still today. I mean, this guy, I won't mention, but he's in the caliber, you know, of the guys like Willie Nelson and people like that. But he came out there and Restless Heart had them blew him away. I mean, it was one of those nights that, you know, I don't know. They got several encores. It was crazy. But first time I ever saw them, it blew me away too. And I left after the first 3 or 4 songs of the main act. I had done seen it. So anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit. That was probably 89, as I mentioned. Looking over here, Terry Adams, Jacksonville. I've already mentioned her. My buddy Doug Klein, he's a great drummer, and you know, I'm glad he's listening in since we got John on tonight. Doug played drums with so many bands here in town. He was known as the bluegrass drummer. He played with the Knoxville Grass on a lot of stuff, and we all got a chance to play together. Some. Let me see what's happened to me here. I've lost my picture. Well, here somewhere. Let me see where I'm at. There we go. That's what happens when you get messing with everything. Ray Plazik, he's from Twinsburg, Ohio. He's on tonight. I think I already mentioned him. But anyway, back to John. It's going to be a lot of fun. He'll be calling in here in just a few minutes. And, you know, I want to tell everybody that, you know, when we do these shows at night, if you miss them or if you want to tell somebody about them, you can go to Facebook and go to my page there. I've got a Facebook channel just under Phil Ledbetter. Go to my channel, and you know, you'll find all these. I've got them all the way back to when I started. I only have to put one more on, and that's Bob Minner. Bob was my first one on the show, and Bob's been with 28 or 29 years with my brain's not working tonight. Tim McGraw. It's been with him for a long time, so I'll get his up on YouTube also, but all the rest of them are on there. I think starting with J.D. Crowe, Dale M. Bradley, and everybody that's you know, that's been on here. So anyway, go there to YouTube and you can watch those again. If there's something you want to see, there's been some good ones lately. And We had Ricky Steamboat, the WWF wrestler, on a few weeks back, and we usually run like 45 minutes. We run about 2 hours with him because he had so many good stories. So, be sure to go there and check things out if you didn't see it. And my buddy Tony Lawson, he said, I like the hat. Now, I'll tell you, Tony Lawson, if it hadn't been for Tony Lawson, we wouldn't have WDVX here in town. And I'm just really proud to know Tony and be Tony's friends and all the good things that's happening down at WDVX constantly. Proud to be in this town with such a great station. And Tony, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Really, really glad to have you tonight. John Moore is on, and Debbie Cantwell again said her signal's sporadic. Could be on my end, I don't know, but let me know if you guys can hear me or if you're having problems. I may need to adjust something. And let's see, somebody else said that their signal's sporadic. So, I go wireless. I think I'm going to have to plug in and start doing wired on this. It might keep us cleaner as far as our signal. But anyway, John should be calling in any time right now. And as soon as he does, this looks like him right here. Let me see if it's him. Hey, John, is that you?
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Good. Hey, we got John Dittrich on the line. John, am I pronouncing your name right? It is Dittrich, isn't it?
It is.
Buddy, we're so glad to have you on tonight. Let me turn you up just a little bit. Make sure everybody can hear you out there.
Okay.
There we go. I can hear you real good.
All right.
How's things going your way? You're still in Nashville, right?
I am. Yes, I am.
Good deal. Let me crank you a bit more here. Now, I mentioned, that to you guys that John's a founded member, and John, you just recently retired from Restless Heart, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
How many years did you put in there?
Well, since 1983.
83. Wow.
So 38 years.
Man, that's a long time. It
is.
And you guys stayed pretty stable other than just one time there when I guess Larry Stewart had left the band and now he's back. You guys didn't have much turnover in there, or any turnover.
Not turnover in members, no.
Right.
We had in the years where it was just the three of us,
right.
Me and Paul and Greg.
Right.
We had two guys in the band that were sidemen.
Right.
But no, there hasn't been any change in partners or anything like that.
Tell me, let's start back a little early. What was your first instrument, and how old are you when you started playing?
Well, actually, my first instrument was the snare drum.
Mm-hmm.
And my father had been a national champion rudimental snare drummer in high school.
Wow.
And he had a field drum. He played in the marching band all the way through college.
Mm-hmm.
He had a field drum, and I just picked up the sticks one day and started, hitting it. And I guess I had some rhythm because he taught me some rudiments. And this was at age 4.
Wow, that's early.
Yeah, and then in elementary school, my first actual instrument that I studied was violin. And and then in junior, I had always played drums, percussion, things like that, in school. And then I took up trumpet, and all the while I was still playing in the percussion section in the junior high and high school band. And of course, I went on to college and became a percussion major.
Wow.
So that's how that started.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I played let's see, my parents rented a saxophone from me in school. I don't remember nothing about it, but
Yeah.
I kept wanting to play the snare drum. And in school they used to, you had to be in there about a year, and I was in band a year, and then I took up the snare drum and I loved it. And I was, I guess, a first chair drummer for a year, and got through out of band for reasons, I guess, that I've been warned about two or three times. And but I guess it was good for me because I went over and started playing dobro. So you did real well. You've had a long line of music in your family.
Yeah. Well, now when I say my father, I have to qualify it. I was adopted.
Oh, okay.
And I recently, within the past 3 years, I have found my birth families on both sides.
Man, that's awesome.
When I say my father, I mean my dad.
Yeah.
The man who brought me up.
Right.
My father was a jazz saxophone player.
Wow.
Yep.
I
got it from him, obviously.
Oh, you've had music in your life quite a bit there. And now, where did you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Stuff like that.
Well, I grew up in upstate New York.
Okay.
And I went to Batavia High School up there. Hello, anybody from Batavia who might be listening. And then I went to Onondaga Community College that had a very good music program, preparatory to transferring to a four-year school. And then I went to North Texas State University, which is now the University of North Texas, which had a kind of a world-renowned jazz program there. Their number one jazz band was considered to be one of the finest, if not the finest, in the country. So a lot of people who were really serious about music and about jazz in particular, wanted to go to that school.
Man, that's awesome. You've been at the right places. It sounds like. I mean, leading up through, your career with Restless Heart. And let me ask you, who were some bands when you were, I guess before you joined in with Restless Heart, were you in any local bands or stuff like that?
In Nashville, there was a group called the Boys Band that had they had a deal on Asylum Records. And as it turns out, Paul Gregg and I were hired as the sidemen to the three principals in that band. And that's, I met Paul Gregg, and we both liked to play golf, and we hung out. And that's how I ended up being introduced to Restless Heart, because Paul and Dave and Greg were the three people that Tim Dubois used a lot on his songwriting demos. And Tim wanted to produce records, so he wanted to put a band together. So they had a singer. The original singer's name was Verlin Thompson, and they didn't have a drummer. and the rule was everybody had to sing. Well, there's not a lot of singing drummers. So Paul said, "I know a guy. Don't worry about it." So he brought me in. And I sang on a couple of the song demos, and eventually the band was formed, and then Verlin decided to quit. He didn't want to go on with it. So Dave said, "Don't worry, I know a guy," and he brought in Larry Stewart, who Dave had been playing in a band locally with Larry at the time.
Okay.
So that's how the five of us ended up together.
Well, I'll tell you, mentioned Paul Gregg. Paul, has always been one of my very favorite bass players. And, the guy, I go back and watch a lot of your guys' videos and stuff on YouTube. And just the stuff that he puts in is so complimentary and so driving that, you know, I just, I think you guys, especially the connection between you and Paul, man, you all had a really mean rhythm section there with your playing. I mean, you guys really just hooked up well, I thought, on everything you did. You both
Yeah.
complemented each other well.
Yeah. Well, I think the key is that we were both consistent. You know, we pretty much played the same thing in the same place, you know, every time. There wasn't a whole lot of experimenting going on.
Right.
You know, although I will say this, that, you know, when things got very hectic and we had to come into town and record an album and then go back out on the road, we didn't songs, and some of the songs we listened to in the studio.
Right.
And then, you know, decided, well, okay, yeah, we like that, we want to cut that one, and we'd go out and cut that song.
Right.
I just wish that we had some time to live with the songs before we actually had to record them, because what we put on the record, you know, songs will evolve. But, you know, the longer you play them, you know, they'll start to evolve a little bit.
Sure.
And you know, the tracks that we were playing a year later live were, in my opinion, much better than what we put on the record.
I understand that. I on my side, I've done a lot of that where you know, you have the songs from a songwriter and you learn them in the studio. And yeah. I know so many times that you go out and you don't know, you know, you don't know any of the songs, so you have to get ready and work them in, kinda. But
right.
I understand that, you know, that thing about, you know, having them down a year or something like that. But you guys, man, everything just, you know, from my ears, you guys turned everything y'all threw out was just excellent, I think. And
excuse me. Well, you know, Scott Hendricks and Tim Dubois.
Mm-hmm.
Scott was our engineer,
right,
and Tim was our producer. Scott was a real stickler for, you know, getting things right. You know, he didn't settle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't settle either, but I
no.
mean, he didn't settle. I remember on the song, just on the one song, Wheels.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
We had 24 hours into singing just the background vocals.
Wow.
And that was back in the day before there was Pro Tools. And we would sing two on a mic, you know, with a glass partition.
Right.
And two other guys would be on the other side singing on a mic, and we would sing. And if one of us was a hair out of tune, everybody had to re-sing it. So
you know, before Pro Tools, you really had to, you know, I mean, not throwing off on anything now, but back before Pro Tools, you really had to, you know,
you had to nail it.
You did. You had to nail it, and you had to really be. You had to be a pretty good musician. Nowadays, some of the things in Nashville, you know, they can piece it together and it sounds really good. But you know,
well, I remember when I was doing the Buffalo Club, and Barry Beckett was our producer, and of course by then they had Pro Tools.
Right.
And I remember Barry telling Ron and Charlie and I, don't worry about if it's in tune. He said, I want a performance. He said, I'm looking for a performance. He said, I can fix everything else, but I got to have a performance.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So things have changed quite a bit.
It has, yeah. But you guys, man, your records. Before I go on, I've got a couple of people here who want to ask you a question, and then I want to go on, but I don't want to lose it. Jason Lawrence wants to ask if you're fully retired or if you're going to be doing any projects or other endeavors.
Nope, I am fully retired. I have found it more and more difficult as you know, the last few years went on.
Traveling and stuff.
Playing and singing at the level that I had to.
Yeah, sure.
For a 90-minute show,
Uh,
and I have some breathing issues,
okay.
and some underlying
Understand.
health things. Nothing that serious, but
Right.
just enough to make it very difficult for me.
Right.
So
Understand.
I just said, this year isn't going to be probably any different than last year. We played 15 shows last year,
Well,
and I just think it's time for me to hang it up.
buddy, I understand, man. You put in your time. I mean, 38 years with the same band, that's a long time right there. And, you know,
And 10 years in the clubs before that.
yeah, I mean, you're about where I'm at. I think I've got in 40, 58. I've got in about 45 years, something
Yeah.
like that. But I understand. But man, we're gonna miss you. But I've still got those records and stuff I can listen to. Uh, Fred Burgess over here said, hey John, incredible drummer. Sorry to see you go, but enjoy your life from here on out. And that sounds like what you're doing. So
Well, thank you very much, Blaine. I appreciate that.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you the story about how I ran into you guys. I was living in Nashville at the time, and I guess it was uh, a show called New Country. I believe that Shelley Mangrum used to do. I think that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
A long time back, and I remember seeing this tune, "Heartbreak Kid,"
Yep.
and it was about a week later. You remember back in the day when Columbia House and all would send out you could get 10 DVDs or 10
Yeah.
CDs, and if you buy one or something. And anyway, I had just got the first CD player I'd ever had. My wife got it for me for Christmas, and I remember at that time you could order like five, and I ordered you guys CD, and it was probably your second CD, the one that uh, it was a big
Wheels.
Wheels. Was that your second one? Then that's the one it was.
Yep.
And then was Big Dreams of a Small Town. Where did that come in?
That was the third album.
The third. Okay, so I ordered Wheels and that one. Now, what was your very first album?
Well, the very first album was just simply called Restless Heart.
Okay.
It was what they called an EP. It didn't have 10 songs on it. It only had 8.
Okay. Yep.
So they called it an EP. Because the label didn't know which way it was going to go.
Right.
So they didn't spend a whole lot of money on it.
Yeah, it's kind of experimental that way, isn't it? For they don't.
Well, it was so different.
Yeah.
Than anything that was out there.
Oh yeah, sure.
At the time, I mean, especially for a band. I mean, you've got, Alabama was the
Right.
biggest band out there.
Right.
And then of course Exile, was
Sure.
out there as well.
Exile. Yep.
And they had by 1985 when the record was released, they had several hit songs out
Sure.
at that point.
Sure.
Of course, Alabama was probably one of the biggest bands on the planet at that point.
Yeah. Sure.
And but Alabama had a much different sound than we
Sure.
did.
Sure.
Exile had a different sound than we did.
Right.
And I think the record company believed in us. I know that Joe Galante and the whole staff, they were very excited about us, but I don't think they knew which way it was going to go.
Right. Exactly. Well.
And they promoted the living daylights out of us. Believe me, that label worked very hard. And they did all the right things.
Well, I'll tell you, I was a fan from the first time I heard you guys, and I'll tell you, the first time I saw you live, I may have told you this, but this is kind of a funny story. I saw you guys at Starwood in Nashville,
Yep.
and the funny thing about that, I worked at a hospital that we had head injuries and stuff like that. And some of the patients would be, waking up out of their comas that they'd been in. And we had one guy, and he was a country music fan. So, work paid me a whole shift to come in get our van, had a lift on it, take him to the concert and bring him back. And I thought, man, this is pretty good. I'm getting paid my regular shift to go watch you guys play. And you guys opened that night for Hank Williams Jr.
Yep.
And you probably remember that. And
I do.
I just remember you guys totally, I mean, you guys totally destroyed it. And it was like, I looked down at the guy I had brought to the concert, and he was a Hank Williams fan, but he hadn't saw you guys before. And about two songs in the Hank show, he looked at me and said, "Let's head on out." Said, "I've heard what I need to hear tonight," and he become. I mean,
Yeah.
it was funny because he started getting you guys CDs and stuff, and you made a new fan that night. But I just remember, Starwood, and is Starwood still there? Is it gone?
Oh no, Starwood's gone. It's they tore the whole thing down.
Wow,
It's nothing but a parking lot now. They can't decide what to do with the land.
man, Starwood was such a good thing for Nashville, I thought.
Yeah. I got to tell you something about, we did 75 shows with Hank Jr. that year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hank's band was terrific.
Oh yeah, sure.
We got to know all of them, and they were so much fun. We had such a great time. And, Hank's thing, after a show, we got invited up to his suite
Mm-hmm.
one night
Mm-hmm.
after the show. And his whole thing after a show was he wanted a bottle of wine, a Pizza Hut or Domino's pizza, and a monster movie on TV. That was his whole thing.
So, did you guys hang and watch the monster movie? Is that what you did?
No, we didn't watch. We didn't hang to watch the monster movie. I don't think we even stayed for the pizza. I think we just went up and said hello and did the quick shake and howdy and left.
It's funny. That night that I came, Hank was going to show all the instruments he could play.
Yeah.
And I think he may be in a little rip that night. I don't know. But he went around and played their thing, and he sat down at the pedal steel. And I think the band was playing something that may have been out of A or something like that. And Hank got it in C, and he didn't let off. He was three frets high on them, but he didn't let up. He cut it on through and took a bow and went and got his guitar and started singing. But I thought that was kind of funny because the crowd loved it. They didn't know anything different, Let me get over here to the side because I've got some people writing some stuff wants to ask you some questions here.
Sure. Let's take some questions from the audience.
Yeah, let's do that. A girl named Myra Kay.
I know Myra. Hi, Myra.
Hey, well, she's wanting to know about your musical heroes.
My musical heroes. Well, of course, being a drummer, I did not learn about Buddy Rich until I was about 17.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that happened. I don't know how it took so long for me to discover Buddy Rich, but it happened because my high school band director, since I was a junior in high school at the time, he asked me what drummers do I like to listen to, and I said, well, I don't really have one, favorite drummer. I've never really heard one that ever really got me excited.
Sure.
And he said, have you heard of Buddy Rich? And I said, no. And he says, come with me. And he took me into the listening lab, where they had records and the turntable in there.
Sure.
And he put on Buddy Rich's West Side Story, which was his featured drum solo piece. Tremendous piece of music, very difficult to play. And I listened to it, and I thought I was hearing God play the drums. I had never heard anything like that before in my life. And now I had to have that album, and every album he put out after that I had to have. Then I went back and got some of the earlier stuff. I got a chance to see him live probably a half a dozen times.
Wow.
And I actually spent an hour with him alone in his dressing room after a show one night. And here I was, yeah, a 19-year-old kid in the presence of God.
No, I understand.
You know, and he was very gracious, very nice. He answered all my questions. You know, he had a reputation of, you know, being kind of a nasty guy.
Yeah.
But he wasn't to me. He wasn't to young people in general that were interested in his music.
Sure.
You know, he had no time for wise guys. You know,
I understand that.
He you know, serious people that ask serious questions and really wanted to know. He took the time with.
Man, that's good to know that.
I was very grateful for that experience. Of course, as far as musical heroes go, I mean, the whole, Restless Heart, we always kind of idolized the band Toto. All of us.
Definitely.
And we got a chance to do 2 shows with them.
Wow.
In Germany. And actually, we did a video on a song called Long Lost Friend over in Germany while we were on one of those Toto shows.
Wow.
And so, you know, I think it was the first afternoon, we were over there for sound check, and we knew that all the Toto guys were in their dressing room. They were in the dressing room with their door shut. So we thought, hey, this will be funny. We'll go down there in front of the door and we'll sing the chorus to Africa.
Oh yeah.
Okay? So we go down, we get in a semicircle outside the dressing room door, and we start singing the chorus to Africa. We get about 4 bars in, and the door flies open, and they all fly out into the hall. And we're so shocked, we stop singing. You know, we didn't know what you know, if they were angry, what they were going to do, and you know, and we stopped, and David Page said, no, keep going. Singing. Said, it hasn't sounded that good since the record. So that was a huge compliment.
Man, I had a friend that was one of the most incredible musicians I've ever known, with everything, writing music and everything. And the song Africa, every time I was around him, he would want to, you know, we were in the studio or what. I had a little home studio for a while before I got sick, and he'd always come out, and he would always want to listen to Africa, and he would point out everything in it, every instrument, everything going on. And man, I remember hearing that song a lot, but after he played it and I heard him and heard how he broke this thing down, because he knew, I mean, he could play all the instruments in it. That song just really knocked me out of what all was going on in there. And that's one of the most incredible recordings I've ever heard. Is that
so? That right after that, we finished it up, and Page looks at the guys in the band and he said, "They've got to come out and sing it with us. They have to come out and sing it with us." So we went out the next night. And we got on stage. They called us out on stage, and we sang Africa with Toto.
Wow, man!
And we actually in our intro, our video intro that we used when we had video screens, you know, wherever we had them, we have about a 1.5-minute intro video that my wife actually did. Mm-hmm. And she put together this really, really good video. And there's a portion of us on stage with Africa singing the chorus.
Wow.
In that video.
Can you find that anywhere on YouTube?
Yes, you can. It is, if you search YouTube for Toto, Africa, Oldenburg, Germany.
Oldenburg, Germany. Okay.
Oldenburg, Germany. Okay. 1990.
I'll look that up after we get done tonight.
Yeah, it's Africa.
Definitely.
It's Toto, Africa, Oldenburg, 1990, I believe.
I can find that. That's a good thing
Yeah.
about what we're doing now. And somebody just asked this question, Sherry Hawking, if somebody's recording and can watch us later. And I do put it on YouTube within like 30 minutes after we do this,
Okay.
so I can go back and recall what we've talked
Yeah, I know
about
my
tonight.
cousin Gary's working tonight, and he won't be able to watch it until later. He works second shift.
Oh, just tell him to go over to YouTube on my channel and check it
Yep,
out.
I have
Uh,
told him that. Yep.
well, let's see what else we got here, John. Let's see.
I have to say that my Texas criminal defense attorney friend Jeff Nicholson texted me in a panic because he couldn't get the link to work.
Oh, really?
And then he texted me and said he finally got on. So
Good.
he's monitoring this phone call for any illegal activity on my part.
Oh, Lordy. Well, we're going to have to go back, and I just won't put it on YouTube tonight. I'll just delete it. We'll work out. Hey, I got a buddy here. Well, one person, Kevin Ferris. Buddy here
Yep.
says, you guys changed country music forever. I agree with that. All the way, man. What a great band. Uh,
Kevin is a very, very dear friend. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
He's on here. He just posted, so that's cool. I got a buddy here, Greg Booth, an incredible dobro player out of Alaska. And he wrote, "Hi, Phil and John. In my years playing steel in club bands in Alaska, some of my favorite music to play was Restless Heart. Tremendous respect."
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
He loved you guys. Tremendous respect. Listening again, I'm still blown away by the music and musicianship. And I understand that. That's I've been, since I found out you guys were going to be on, I've been back again, because you forget things a lot of people you listen to. And even though I've got you guys in my playlist on everything, I've been getting on YouTube just going through stuff, and everything in there just is, the stuff that was good to me back when I first heard you. I listen to it now and it's even better because I understand it more, of everything going on. And you guys' music, I think, is some of the music that'll be timeless music with people, and I know it is with me. And we got a guy named Brett Nelson here. Do you know Brett?
Yes.
He said, "Hi, John. Just kicking back, enjoying the show here in Syracuse area. Hope all is well and you're enjoying your retirement, and hope you lost your snow."
Thank you, Brett. Yeah, we were snowed in at my house, we were snowed in for 6 days. We had ice underneath the snow.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, down here, we're not used to that. And they don't really do a real good job on the side streets here. So we got snowed in for 6 days.
What part of town are you in there in Nashville?
I'm north of Nashville, about 12 miles. I'm in a town called Goodlettsville.
Oh, yeah. I used to live in Hendersonville, so
yeah.
I know exactly where Goodlettsville is.
Yeah. Garth Brooks is my neighbor.
Yeah, I knew he was out in that area.
Well, actually, my street turns into a street called Dry Creek.
Right, yeah.
And he lives off Dry Creek.
Oh, wow, ain't that
somewhere back out there,
Yeah.
He's got a big spread out there.
Yeah, he's not in a subdivision.
No, he's not in a subdivision. He's pretty much all by himself out there. He and Trish.
Well, you're Garth Brooks, you can do that,
But my wife, it was a couple Christmases ago. She used to work at Hobby Lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it was 2015. She used to work at Hobby Lobby, and she was going into Hobby Lobby, and this guy held the door open for her.
Uh-huh.
And she said, "Thank you," and she comes home and she tells me, she says, "That guy looks a lot like Garth Brooks," And so she said, I'm just going about my business, and all the stores buzzing. It's Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood. It's Garth Brooks, And so, she just walked right up to him and said, "Hi, Garth. My name's Laura Dittrich." And she said, "My husband's the drummer in Restless Heart."
Mm-hmm.
And started a conversation, and she said, and Trisha rolled her eyes and looked like, "Oh my God, we'll be here for another hour." He's going to start talking, And Garth says, "Are they back out on the road?" And she said, "Well, they are. He's not. He has to have back surgery."
Right.
and she said they spoke for just a couple of minutes, and they wished me well with the back surgery. And
Yeah.
Tricia kind of hustles him toward the cashier.
She's ready. She's ready to get home with those
She's ready. She's
crafts.
ready to go. She's ready to go.
Garth. I've heard so many good things about him. Now, one of my friends is Steve Warner, and
Yeah.
Steve told me, and I can't remember the story on this. I want to think it's when one of his parents had passed, so I'm not going to say mother or father because I can't remember which one. But Steve told me that they had the reception and was getting ready to go to the cemetery, and Garth hadn't been there or anything, and they said as the funeral procession got probably 3 or 4 miles out of town, about the time the car comes, it's got Steve Warner and I guess the hearse with his dad ahead or whatever. Said Stephen or Garth and Tricia was standing beside the road there, and Garth took his hat off while the procession left, and then got on his plane and flew back home. And Steve asked him why he didn't let him know he was there, and he said, "Hey, I wasn't going to come in and be an issue with the funeral. I didn't want to be there. This was about your parent, whichever one it was." But I always thought that was pretty cool, that he flew all the way in and just stood there to let Steve know, "Hey, buddy, I'm your friend and here for you."
Well, Garth is one of the most down to earth, nicest guys you'll ever meet. What you see on TV that's Garth.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I've heard.
He's just a regular guy.
Man, that's what I've heard. That's good when you find out people are like that, because I know there's some people, and you may have been like this, but I've had so many people, and I've been here too, with going to meet your hero, and then you were so disappointed in them that you kind of wish you never met them, and that's happened to me a couple of times, and I've heard people say that with other people, but everybody I know that's met Garth has talked about just what a fine guy he is.
Well, somebody posted in there's a Facebook page called Hip Goodlettsville, and they have a Hip Hendersonville and a Hip whatever. It's for the locals.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And some woman posted that she had just been at Publix, and Garth Brooks was out in the parking lot collecting the shopping carts. And
wow.
pushing them back into the store.
Man, see, that's cool. That there's just so many people down that I have run into, especially some of the new people that are really disappointing when you meet them. I mean, that when I say new, the bands that's not been around as long as you guys, but some people that you meet, they're just absolute jerks. And it's like, man, I don't even like their music anymore after they, you meet them and they're such a big letdown. So
well,
that.
I haven't run into too many of them.
Right.
I really can't even remember one instance at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, over the last 38 years, it's entirely possible I may have forgotten, but
mm-hmm.
I don't have any memories of meeting someone who was, well, I was going to say an expletive, but I can't. So.
Yeah, I know what word you're looking at.
Yeah,
a JA, I guess, may do. And I know I've not been bad with them, but I've had just a couple of people, and it was some of the older folks that have been around. Most of the older folks are pretty good, but that's not bad, for that. But you're John Dittrich, they know you. I was somebody in the way at the time, so anyway, hey, let's get on to some more stuff here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Brett Nelson says, "Hi, John. Just kick back. We just said that, didn't we? Yep. About the snow. Let's see. Patty Rumsey said I could listen to John's stories all day long. So, John, we should have got on the phone a little earlier, maybe 8 a.m. this morning. We could just talk all day. Here.
That's a relative of mine.
Is it really?
What's the first name again?
Pam Hostler Rumsey.
Yes, Gary's wife. Hi, Pam.
Hey.
That's my cousin who's working second shift.
Oh, okay. Well, she's got some people hitting like on it.
Wife of my cousin who's working second shift.
Well, she's here representing for him, so that's good.
All right.
Girl named Myra Cade, you know her?
I know Myra very well.
She's wrote Hey John at you. And let's see, somebody's wrote a guy named Jeff Nicholson.
That's my criminal defense attorney.
Oh, he's wrote, John, you have not been paying child support for. Oh, and I read that wrong. It says John has been a friend for 35 years. In addition to being a great musician and singer, is one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. Great fun to sit around and discuss the world's problems with. And man, that is one thing about you. You ever since I first met you, you've been like. You've been a regular guy, and that's really good to have people that you run into. It's like that because I guess that's what I meant. Running into you and some
my
of the
wife.
other guys.
My wife keeps telling me, or she's kept telling me through the years. She say, you're not a star here, pal. Don't come in with any of that star crap.
Mm-hmm. Leave it at the door, right?
Yeah, you're not a star here.
Yeah, it's funny, and bluegrass isn't nothing like you guys, are. But it's funny that sometimes you can go out and play and everything, and I know what it is. The minute you get off the stage and you get in the car and you're heading to your hotel. Your music's done with for that night, and it's it's Papa, Grandpa, honey, whatever. You're what you are. Musician is. I've told people. I said some people choose different things to be contractors, bricklayers, stuff like that, and what we do. Is they'll think, some people think, wow, that's so important, and it is, but I told some of my friends one time that we were talking, and we had a little shuttle bus at the time, and we had a blowout at like 3 a.m. and a guy come out and put a tire on for us, and I told the guys, said, no matter whatever we do in music or whatever, we always have to remember, tonight when that guy changed the tire, that guy was the most important guy in our life that night that come and saved us with that. And I just think everybody is important, with stuff. Musicians, if we didn't have guys building stages and things like that, and so many people that went to Nashville to play music, they were contractors. I think, wasn't Hal Ketchum? I think he did some contracting work. I know John Anderson did, and you never know.
Hal Ketchum is my New York State Country Music Hall of Fame brother.
Is that right?
We are both. Now, I don't know what the difference is. We're both members of the Wall of Fame, and then they have a Hall of Fame, and I don't know what the difference is.
Wow.
I inquired about how do I get into the Hall of Fame now that I'm on the Wall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Well, send your resume. I said, you've already got everything I've ever done.
Right.
What else do I have to do to get in the Hall of Fame?
Did you get it?
But yeah, Hal and I were inducted onto the Wall of Fame at the same time.
That is really cool. I've always liked Hal's music a lot. Now, didn't he pass away?
He did, unfortunately. Yeah. I think it was. Was it dementia? I think it was dementia.
It's not been long back. Maybe back in the
and Hal was such a sweetheart of a guy.
That's what I've heard.
Really sad. It was really sad. He was a very, very nice guy.
I used to when I was in Nashville. I was over at Senior McGuire's. You know him, the guy that does all the photos.
Hmm.
And Hal was over there at that time, and
Yep.
he was just he was so nice, and he came in the door, and I didn't even realize who it was because he just he just blends. He's just
Yeah.
like anybody. And but I really liked his music a lot. And that's cool. You guys are both on the Wall of Fame. But they
Yeah.
do have to get you inside on the Hall of Fame in the Hall of Fame. I think that's where you need to be.
Well, we're actually in the Oklahoma Country Music Hall of Fame.
That's
The
awesome.
band. Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you in individually there? Are you in as a band or how?
No, we're in as a band.
Well, man,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool stuff. Let's see. Kevin Ferris, you must know him because he says John has been the same to me. So, and then he says, "Hey pal, let's see. Jeff Nicholson with all his free time, I might need to take the Tennessee, and
Yeah.
take the Tennessee and set up
Yeah.
practice there. Set up a practice there. So that'd be
Yeah.
good. Let's get on down here a little bit. Mike Littlejohn said Restless Heart is by far musically the best. Man, I totally agree. And I think vocally too, man. You guys vocals.
I have two words for Mike Littlejohn. Surobiscio. You'll know what that means. Surobiscio.
I think I know what the word is. Maybe. Is that maybe the initials SOB probably?
No,
Okay, good.
it is probably the best soy sauce in the world.
Oh,
It's aged for 4 years in big oak vats
wow.
in Japan, and it's made the traditional way. And I found it, and I gifted him a bottle of it
Wow.
because he loves ahi tuna,
Hmm.
and I love sushi, so I
Yeah.
gifted him a bottle of it, and it is actually Takahiro Washino. If I think he's listening tonight from Japan.
Wow. It's cool.
He responded to a post I made about that soy sauce, and he even living in Japan was not aware of it. And
Really?
so he went to the department store, and they happened to have one small bottle of it left. And he purchased that bottle, and the salesman said, "This is the best soy sauce you're ever going to taste." And this was in Japan.
Wow.
So, this stuff is really top shelf.
Well, man, that's great. I used to love soy, and the bad thing is where I'm having dialysis and stuff, I can't have that
Right.
salt anymore. But
Yeah.
man, I would love to try some out. Again, I'm gonna go back and watch all this and write stuff down, and I'll be on the search, even if it's on eBay or something. I probably won't ever find it, but it don't hurt to look
No,
for it.
you can find it. You
Okay?
can find. I'll see if I can't find a link.
Yeah, man,
And send
I'll
it to you.
cheat. I'll cheat to try that out. And
It's like 20. It's like 28 or $29 a bottle, but
uh-huh.
it's like a 24. How much is it? 16-ounce bottle, something like that.
Wow, that's
It's a lot.
big.
It's a lot of soy sauce. It'll last you for a
Oh
while.
shoot, I'll get that. That's Restless Heart money right there. But I'll skip.
Yeah.
I'll do without a
Well,
unit of blood and buy
I'm
it.
retired on a fixed income, so that's probably the last bottle I'm going to buy.
If I find where it's at, I'll get one and send you one, a gift you some way or another. John Winter. Hey John,
Yes.
great
Hi,
hearing
John.
from you. Sad we won't get to visit at any more shows. Stay healthy. So
No,
that's
I've hung up my six guns.
there's a lot of people going to miss you. Let's see. Guy named Jason Lawrence wanted to know what was your favorite music video to make.
Oh boy, favorite music video to make. Boy, I hadn't thought of
That's
that.
hard. That's a hard question, I bet.
I mean, there are, there's some great moments in all the videos
Hmm.
that we did. I think probably, I would say the first video on Heartbreak Kid was very interesting because we had never done it before.
Wow.
and we shot the video in Lancaster, California, at a place called Vasquez Rocks.
Okay.
Vasquez Rocks, in every old Western that you've ever seen, when they say, head them off at the pass, Vasquez Rocks is the pass.
Is that right? That's where you cut the video at.
They've shot Star Trek, they've shot car commercials, they've shot all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
It's very famous.
I knew when I saw it, it looked like it was kind of desert area.
Yeah, well, and it's got the rocks that are jutting up at an angle.
Right.
We were out there all day in the desert. Thankfully, I had a backline set of drums. They weren't my drums, but the sun melted the covering on the drums.
Really?
Completely bubbled them up. And we all got sunburned and everything else, and it was kind of a grind, but and we finished just as the sun started to go down, and
what a great video that was.
Very interesting experience. But we had some great times on all the videos that we did. I remember when we did When She Cries.
Oh yeah.
We did When She Cries, and we were there from early in the morning until early, 1, 2, 3 o'clock the next morning, doing this. And I remember actually I'd be sitting at the drums, and between takes my eyes would close and my head would go down, and I would actually nod off.
Wow.
In between takes, we were there for so long, we were exhausted.
Well, that song, that was a #1, wasn't it?
It was a #1 AC record,
AC, okay.
adult contemporary record.
Right.
It just barely got to 14 or 15, 14, I think, on the country charts. RCA really had to work that on the country charts. But oddly enough, the pop stations were actually calling RCA saying, "When can we play the record? When can we play the record?" And they said that never happens. Pop radio never calls and asks when they can start playing a record.
Wow, that's cool. And that was after Larry left, right? You were the lead singer.
That was right. That was the first release after Larry left. It took us 18 months to get in the studio after he left. I mean, thankfully we had a huge hit. Because,
definitely.
We were on our way down. I mean, we were on our way out at that point.
Well,
if we had not had that hit,
be different.
It probably would have ended right there. But the interesting story is that Larry had recorded When She Cries, and when Scott Hendricks, who produced his first album, played it for his management and the label, the manager said, there's only one song on this project that doesn't fit. And Larry said, well, which one's that? He said, When She Cries. And Larry says, you're kidding me. That's my favorite song.
Wow.
And he said, it doesn't fit. He said, well, if it's not going to go on the album, he said, then I want the guys to have it. And Josh Leo, who was our producer at the time, said, we got this song. I couldn't say anything about it because it was on hold, but we got this song. Said it's going to be a smash. He said, I got all these ideas. This is how we're going to do it. And he had the whole arrangement laid out of how we were going to do this song. Very different from the Nashville demo of it. And when they played our version of it to Mark Beeson and Sonny Lemaire, who wrote the song.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Josh said they looked at each other and they went, "Wow, that's really good." So they were happy with the arrangement. I mean, you got to run it by the songwriters.
Well, had Sonny wrote that song maybe for Exile, or was he just writing it to?
I don't know. I really don't know. I know Sonny and Mark Beeson were writing a lot of songs back then. And so I don't know. I think maybe they just pitched it.
They got the right folks when you guys recorded it. I mean, I remember about every time you turned on the radio, that song was playing, and it was, it was one of my very favorite ones that you guys did too. And it's kind of funny that you listened to it and it was like, you didn't even notice, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but didn't notice that Larry was gone because you
there
guys
are a
carried
lot of
that.
people. There are a lot of people that think Larry's the lead vocalist on that. To this day, there are a lot of people that think Larry's the lead singer. Yeah.
Oh, you killed it. You really did. And,
well, thank you.
And well, your all's voices are so different, but I don't know, in a way, maybe I don't know. I could tell a big difference between you guys. But I love that song, and you really just nailed it. And that's a great song. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got here. We got some more. Ray Plozek said, my wife and I got to meet Restless Heart twice after the shows, and they were really down to earth and genuine nice guys. Paul was a riot. Yeah, I've met Paul a few times, and yeah, he is a good guy. But
yeah, Paul can be hilarious.
Oh yeah. Well, all you guys that I've really got them, I got to meet you shortly at Bean Blossom. I've met Paul a couple of times, and I didn't really know the rest of the guys, but you could just tell, all you guys got along pretty good, and that's a big thing to say. Well, a friend of mine, Debbie Jones, says hey to me. Let's see. Scott Craig said, hi John, thanks for always taking the time to talk shop with me. Scott.
Hey Scott.
Yeah, Scott Craig.
Yes, hey Scott, how you doing? Too bad we can't hear each other.
Well, you can Facebook him after we get done. Guy named Mike Littlejohn said, Laura says you're no star. That made me laugh.
Yeah, hey, trust me, believe her.
Ray, I don't know if it's Plozek or Plazek again, but he wrote your songs Big Iron Horses and Sweet Whiskey Lies are the best Restless Heart non-radio songs. Now, I agree with that. Big Iron Horses,
thank
especially.
You. Yeah,
wow.
I wrote those really? Sweet Whiskey Lies with Mark Beeson, and I wrote Big Iron Horses with Dave Ennis and Vince Melamed.
Uh-huh.
Although most of Big Iron Horses is mine. I went to Vince Melamed, and he brought another guy in, and they started writing a song that wasn't what I wanted. And I said, look, I'm just going to take what I brought in and go and write it, the way I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically dictated the song to Dave Ennis.
Okay.
And he wrote it all down. Vince Melamed did contribute a couple of lyrical lines and a couple of melody ideas. So I brought him in as a songwriter on the song. And Sweet Whiskey Lies, I just basically had an outline for it, and I explained it to Mark over the phone the night before our writing appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And he came into the writing appointment and he had the whole thing done.
It's a great tune. We had looked at that song as a bluegrass band, wanting to see how we could play it, because it's just a great tune. It has great lyrics to it.
Yeah.
And and Ray said in his comments, said he feels connected to his grandpa through Big Iron Horses. Said he gets chills watching that video. So that's good when you can write something that really connects with people.
Quick story about Big Iron Horses. It's actually the town of Avon, New York, is an actual town where my adopted grandparents lived and my adopted mom grew up.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather actually worked for the railroad. And so the song was written based on one photograph of my little brother and myself when we were very young kids, crossing the railroad tracks with my grandfather to go down and look at the trains. and all these images came up. The Five Arch Bridge
Sure.
that's mentioned in the song is there, and I understand it's become the town song of Avon, New York, or something. They can't believe a song was written about their town.
Cool.
But I got a letter from a gentleman that his father, was it his father or his grandfather? I think it was his grandfather worked with my grandfather on the railroad up there, and his father passed away, and they had the funeral at the same funeral home that my grandparents had their funerals at, and in Avon. And he's explaining all this to me, and he said, everybody was just kind of standing around, not knowing what to do, what to say in a very difficult moment. And he said, from the other room, he said, somebody had put on your song, Big Iron Horses. And everybody gathered in that one room and listened to that song.
Wow, that's great.
And he said, it just brought everybody together, and everybody was hugging. And he said, I just want you to know, I read that letter and I said, you know what? That's why you write songs.
Definitely.
That's why you write songs.
When you hear something back like that, that's the best. That's better to me than somebody, saying, hey, we sold this many records. I mean, maybe not financially, but stuff like this is the stuff you'll always remember. When something like that happens, that's just stuff that's out of the normal, which is really, really cool when you hear that.
Well, that's the best compliment that I have ever gotten.
No doubt.
As a songwriter. I mean,
no doubt.
That was the premier compliment.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's I've listened to that tune a whole lot, and it just every time I listen to it, it's one of those songs that seems like it gets better every time that you listen to it. And I've got it on, I've got it on my playlist on my computer. One of my favorite tunes that you guys have done, and which I like everything you guys have done, but that one stands out a whole lot with me too. I remember my dad, when I was a kid, I mean, they had already moved to diesel locomotives, but there was a deal they had every year where they would run the trains by steam engines. And I remember my dad would hear that whistle early in the morning because they'd be taking trips over from Knoxville, say, to Asheville. They'd leave early from the depot, which was a big switch yard, and they would take that line. And I remember my dad would hear the whistle blow, and he'd come and grab me out of bed, and half the time you didn't have all your clothes on and be barefoot, and we'd jump in the car and run over and get out and watch those big steam engines go by. And I remember that sound. I mean, still today, when I hear one of those trains blow, it just reminds me of my dad. And that's just a great song. It really is. You did killer on that one, John. You really did. See what else we got. We've got Carolyn Kitching saying, John, congratulations, John, but we're not enjoying your retirement.
You're not enjoying my retirement?
That's what they're saying. I guess they want you. They want you back.
Well,
so
it was. I'm going to miss certain things about it.
Sure.
I'm going to miss obviously the friends I've made over the years.
Sure.
And the interacting with the fans.
Right. Oh yeah.
I'm not going to miss the traveling. I'm not going to miss the flying.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'll miss the playing a little bit. Give me a little time to miss that, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just so new right now, and not being able to get out and about because of COVID and medical issues, and
sure.
not being able to get the vaccine yet. I've pretty much been homebound through this thing. So retirement is pretty much me being at home at this point.
Sure. Well, I
you
just
know.
had my second COVID that I'd mentioned before you came on, and
Yeah.
it's been in my system about a week. And my pharmacist told me, she says you're about 97% uh, effective right now, but still wear a
Yeah.
mask. And of course, I'm still going to wear a mask because there's 3% there that could get through on you.
Well, I
And
think we're still going to be wearing masks
sure,
and trying to distance even when we have the vaccine.
hmm
Um, because I don't think they know enough about it yet
right.
uh, to say that
What it
whether
long
or not
term?
you can even when you're vaccinated,
Sure,
if you could possibly uh, get some of it and be asymptomatic and infect somebody else. So,
sure.
uh, I think we're still going to be doing that for quite a while.
We are, and I think when it's all over with, life's going to be a lot different. I think we're going to be a cleaner society. People took for granted so long of just grabbing door handles and, going in and open a restroom door and then going
Well,
straight over and,
I think you're right, and I think we as a society are going to be much more aware.
hmm
Uh, and I think you're already seeing changes
yeah.
in the way they manufacture things.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure.
so where you don't have to touch the faucet, you don't have to touch the door
hmm
handle, you don't have to touch the paper towel machine. That's going to become more and more. And I read, the thing about the airport, these Dyson hot air hand dryers that you put your hands over and they dry
Right.
your hands.
Sure.
They say that you shouldn't use those.
Really.
They say you shouldn't use those because what happens is COVID gets in the air and
hmm
you're just blowing that stuff all over your
Oh,
hands.
didn't think about that. Well, that makes sense. I know I've made my own routine. Like when I go to dialysis, it's kind of funny. When I go to the restroom after dialysis because you've been in a chair for 4 hours, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
go in and I'll open the door regular, and the first thing I do is crank those paper towels down, and then go over, and then when I flush the toilet, I wash my hands immediately
Yep.
and grab those paper towels, flush the toilet, turn off the water, keep me a little paper towel, and use that to get out the door. And for a while there, when I was getting done, I mean, I hate saying it, but like other people, there was a pile of paper towels when you go out the door, and finally they put a little trash can there to realize that
Yeah.
people were doing that to get out. But
Right. Right.
but
Yeah.
but this is probably good for all of us. I mean, I think being in is going to make everybody, be more appreciative and everything of what they used to have as far as being able to go to live concerts and stuff like that. I mean, people's going to, I think the attendance, other than people still being a little scared of COVID, I think people's going to try to take in more stuff, and I'm definitely like that. I'm going to, try to take in anything I can, concerts and all that I normally would miss. And I'm just ready to get back out again, but no, it's going to take a
I'm
while.
looking forward to when I'm looking forward to when we can go out to a restaurant and sit
hmm
down
There you go.
inside and
There
eat
you
again.
go.
That's what I'm looking
There
forward
you
to.
go. I've done that a couple of times. I was a little scared doing it. I shouldn't have been out doing it, but I went on a night that there was nobody that I knew was there, and it felt so good to be in there.
Yeah. Well,
But
we do takeout once a week.
yeah, we do
Um,
we do the same. We do the
we don't
same.
go and sit down in restaurants anymore. We
Right.
were there for a little while, but
It's got
there
bad.
was a restaurant here that was very good about distancing and
hmm
precautions and things like that. But
hmm
then things really started getting crazy
I
with
know. Yeah. Yeah.
COVID, and we said, I don't think we should
Stay
do that.
home. Yeah. Yeah. I've got friends that's not been out of the house really, other than in their yards and stuff, since March.
Yeah.
And I can understand that, but hopefully it'll get gone here. But we'll all still have to be careful and things and stuff. And, I hope you stay good and healthy too, but to your family. Let me flip on down through here a little bit more. Laura Westerfield, Heartbreak Kid. You guys got to know each other in that one, it says. And Mike Littlejohn again says When She Cries came out when we opened for you guys in 1992 at Fort Wayne.
Yeah, I don't remember that. The only well, I remember two Fort Wayne shows. One because we were on tour with Reba McEntire the night that she and her band flew out to California.
Oh wow! Really?
And on the way back, the plane crashed and the entire band and crew were killed.
Yeah.
And I remember that because we were on tour with them. We had a night off in Fort Wayne. I went to see a friend of mine that was playing hockey in Fort Wayne in the East Coast Hockey League that had played for the Nashville team. And we got the news the next morning.
Wow.
The thing is, I ate dinner with every single one of them the night that they left.
Man.
Normally, Restless Heart, we'd all sit together. Reba's band would all sit together, at another table. I found myself over at their table.
Man, how spooky that is.
And I mean, the next morning when our road manager said, "Pack your bags, we're leaving. Reba's band has all been killed in a plane crash." I thought he was kidding. He said, "No, I'm serious. Pack your bags, we're going." And I was in shock because I had dinner with him the night before. And I was working in a well, I knew the guitar player. I think his name was Michael. Really nice guy.
Yeah.
He was married to, of course, I can't remember her name right now off the top of my head, but she was a singer in town. She had a record deal at one time. She was married to Michael, and I became Facebook friends with her, and I finally got the nerve up to tell her that, I don't know if this is right, wrong, or what, but I have to tell you this. I had dinner with your husband the night that he flew out to California.
Man.
What'd
she say?
She was so appreciative. She said, please tell me how they were. Were they happy? Were they laughing? And I said, yes. I said, everybody was having a good time, joking around, laughing. She said, nobody told us a thing.
Really?
They said Reba's people wouldn't talk to us.
I wonder why not. I mean, that's kind of strange, isn't it?
I think that the lawyers got to her.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think Reba is a very, very nice human being.
Sure.
And I think the lawyers got to her and said, don't say a word.
Yeah.
Don't send any cards. Don't go to any memorial services. Don't do nothing.
Wow.
Because they were afraid she was going to get sued.
Well, I knew Chris Austin that was on the plane, and I saw him just a few nights before over at the Bluebird, and it was just a shame. And I'm like you. I remember hearing the news the next morning, and it just, it didn't soak in for me. And I can't imagine you guys being on tour together. And I always wondered who they were on tour with. Now I know. I always learn things from just having guests on here, John, especially people like you. So, man, what a shame on that. Let me get Brett Nelson here. Said you definitely did a very cool performance on Heartbreak Kid. It really made that video. I think that is coming from and that's coming from a guitar player. Well, it's pretty good.
Thank you.
I got a buddy here that I went to school with, Tony McFarland. He really likes Big Iron Horses. Said that was awesome. And just a bunch of people here talking about they love the song When She Cries. You're getting a big fan base going on that song tonight, John. A lot of people writing about it. I made some little notes I wanted to tell you or to mention. You guys had 4 gold records on RCA. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's 4.
4. I've looked up a
Well,
lot, but
wait a
I'm
minute. I
trying to
got 5
remember.
up. I've got 5 up here.
So you got 5. Okay.
Let me see. 1, 2. Oh no, one's a duplicate. One's the CD award. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So 4 gold records, but
Man,
we
that's
also
great.
got a gold record for the movie Maverick.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Oh, we were in the movie Maverick. We played the band on the riverboat outside. Now, the inside scene with the band, that was Confederate Railroad.
Okay.
But we played in there. We had marching band uniforms on. It was, kind of a pa type of thing outside. And I, of course, played the snare drum. I was standing up. And we're briefly in the shot,
Man, I'll have to go watch that again because it slipped by me. I didn't notice that. So you guys are like a marching band, you say, wearing the
Well,
outfits and
there
stuff?
was like 6 of us. We had there was the 5 guys that were Larry and Dave weren't there. It was just me, Greg, and Paul,
Okay.
and our two sidemen. God, my memory's getting terrible. I can't get things off the top of my head anymore. Chris and Dwayne. Dwayne left us and went on to finish playing with Brooks and Dunn, and now is with Ronnie Dunn.
Okay.
All those years. And Chris actually went from us to Reba McEntire's band. So they both had a great career.
Wow, that's
and
cool.
Our road manager at the time, Tom Corley, was also in the band. We had these blue marching band uniforms with these caps with the feather in it, and we were just playing some Dixieland out on the. We were playing to a track, out on the top of the riverboat when Mel and Jody, had a scene. They cut to us every now and then, so we actually got some of our faces in the movie.
Man, I'll check that out. I've not. It's been a while since I've seen that one, but I'll watch that one again. Let's see, buddy. I don't mean to.
They keep sending me W-2s to file with my taxes, but they don't send the checks. So,
is that the way it works?
I'm telling you, trying to get a hold of anybody out there is impossible. I don't know what else I can do. I've written them, I've phoned them,
Well, you should have played bluegrass, and that way you don't even get W-2s because your annual income's about $200. So
well, I mean these are checks for $20.
Right.
But it's like, okay, I got to file this with the IRS.
I understand.
Taxes from it, but you haven't sent me the check.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny, some of these little things. I know some of my friends had told me that have got some of their BMI stuff, and it'd be like sometimes 31 cents or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, why even issue a check if you're going to do that? All right, let me get back over here. Marilyn Stoner said, "Are you sure you don't want to continue writing songs? Are you still going to keep writing?"
I just find at this point in my life, and I think this might be somewhat common, I don't have anything to say. I just don't have anything to say. Maybe some of the songwriters out there that are 70 years old can, tell me if this is something that's common or this is something that's just specific to me. I don't know.
I think it may be something that would change after you've, maybe after you've been in retirement a little while. Maybe
so.
Maybe a new season or something like that of writing different ideas. But buddy, I hope you're not. I hope you're not gone. I want you to retire, but I sure, I hope to. Well, I've got videos where I get to see you, but I hope to see you pop up a few times with something, whether it be on a credit on a song or something like that, because you're too good to pack it all away. But I'm glad you're getting to pack some of it away and
well, thank you.
Enjoy your family and stuff like that. And I know that from just where I got sick. When I got sick, I've been home a bunch, and and it made me appreciate, what I had of my family, my wife, my kid, my son, grandkids, just getting to be home and take that in and realize that music wasn't the whole world. And
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes it's easy to do that, and there's people out there now that still do that, and I feel sorry for them. The
Yeah.
guys that just, if they didn't have music, they wouldn't have any other identity. And it's good what you're doing. John, you have kids?
I do. I have a son in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a daughter in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter's an ICU nurse.
Wow.
She's had COVID.
Wow.
She got a mild case of it, thankfully.
Good.
She is vaccinated.
Of course, right.
She said every nurse on her floor was sick for 24 hours after the second dose.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what she said. She said, so when you get your vaccination, Dad, I don't want you to freak out if you start getting sick. She said it only lasts for 24 hours and it's not all that bad.
They told me that on my second one, and the second day I mentioned earlier, I was out working, putting a stereo in my truck, and it was all day process with me because I'm not a real good at that kind of stuff. But I was out about all day. This was the day after, and about 10 o'clock at night, I came in and I sat down, and my wife said, well, how you feeling? I said, I guess okay. Why are you asking? She said, well, you had your second shot yesterday. And I said, oh, yeah. Well, I guess I got lucky on that because it's been 10 days now. So, I didn't have a problem. They say it's different with everybody, but all the nurses on the unit being sick, that's a lot.
Well, now, I don't know. She didn't tell me if it was the Pfizer or the Moderna
Right.
that she took.
Well, they're probably different, on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had the Pfizer, but yeah, I didn't think about that. The Pfizer, Moderna, and then now the Johnson and Johnson, which the Johnson and Johnson, I don't know if that's a one I want because it's like 60 something percent.
Well,
but I know.
But they said what they're saying is, and I don't know if they can be believed, but what they're saying is it will 100% keep you from dying if you get it.
Yeah, I saw that. So, hey, anything works.
I'm good with 100% not dying.
Oh, yeah, buddy, I'm with you there, too. I am, too. I just, I'm glad I was able to get the Pfizer, but you're right about that. I mean,
like my doctor said about the flu shot, I questioned him about the flu shot, and he said, well, it might not keep you from getting the flu, but it will keep you out of the hospital.
Yeah, true.
And I said, I'm good with that.
Very true. Well, it's like I talked to my doctor yesterday. See, about a year and a half ago, I went in the hospital. I had let's see, pneumonia, E. coli, pneumonia, E. coli, shingles.
Oh my Lord!
Cancer came back. It's all at once,
Oh,
and the shingles, man, has been the worst thing because I've got residual a year and a half that I always feel like I've got a little spot on my back that somebody's got a cigarette lighter on me, and I can't get rid of it. And so I had a block not long back, and it helped. But now, I don't want to get this stuff again. So my cancer doctor told me that I couldn't get it because it's a live vaccine. And I found out yesterday from my pharmacist that now they're offering it in a vaccine that's not live. So I'm gonna be down there tomorrow getting that because I never want that stuff again. It's the worst. It was worse than all my other stuff put together.
Well, that's what I've heard. I've
heard terrible.
I of course I had chicken pox.
Oh yeah, sure, me too.
I opted not to get the shingles vaccine
Right.
because it's 2 shots. They cost $200 a piece, and
I understand.
insurance won't pay for it.
Right.
So probably if I ever get shingles, I'll be the first one to go down there and pay for the shingles shot.
Sure.
But,
sure. Oh, I hope you don't. I hope you don't ever get them, man. They're terrible. I had a relative that got it in her face and her eyes. which I can't imagine the pain there. But hers was gone in about a week. Where mine, man, it's been hanging on, and they say it's common with some people. So,
Yep.
it was pretty bad. But anyway, I'm gonna try to get it tomorrow. Hope that'll work. But let's scoot on down here. It says Johnny D's the best. Judy Petrie wrote that.
Who did?
Judy
Oh, Judy.
Petrie, you know her?
Yeah. Hi, Judy. Say hi to Greg for me.
Oh, she's on, and she heard that, I'm sure. And then it says, replying to John, Jeff Nicholson, you can ask yourself a question, LOL.
Because I posted. I just figured out I can comment.
Yeah,
LOL.
I saw that. Let me get this thing out of the way so I can go down and read. Let's see. And Kevin Ferris said, you're becoming a hell of a cook, though. I bet you cook a lot, don't you?
Say what now?
A guy named Kevin Ferris said,
Yeah.
you're becoming a hell of a cook. And I said, I bet you do a lot of cooking now that you're on the road, do you?
At about the same as I did.
Mm-hmm. I like to cook a bunch, too, but I don't know, during the COVID, I've not been cooking as much for some reason. My wife took over all that, which I used to always run her out of the kitchen, and she's become a real good cook.
Yeah.
So, and I've become a dobro player. That's what I can, that's the only thing I can do nowadays. All right, here you go. Is it Takahiro Washino?
Takahiro Washino.
Hello
all
from
the way
Japan.
all the way from Japan.
Yep.
Now Takahiro made is it 2 or 3 trips, Takahiro, to America to see us. I want to say it was 3.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
He came specifically to Nevada. Where were we? It's terrible.
I do the same thing.
Well, in Nevada, we recorded our hits live over 7 nights. We were at Don Laughlin's Riverside in Laughlin, Nevada. Okay. And we went there. We took the gig for the week specifically to record our live record. We played for the door. There wasn't a whole lot of money involved in it, but we took the opportunity so that we could record the album. And Takahiro was there for the whole week. And he won the award for the fan coming the longest distance to see Restless Heart. And we brought him out on stage and we introduced him to everybody. And, of course, he was thrilled. And he came to see us, actually followed us around. We had several shows that we had to do, and followed us around on those shows quite a while back. And Takehiro's been a great fan, and he really has made an effort, to make those 2 or 3 trips to the United States specifically to see us.
Man, that's cool. That's a lot of people that don't travel don't realize the distance between just going to Europe and going to Japan. I mean, Japan's a long way to get here to the U.S., especially to come and watch a band. And that's a pretty big fan right there. So you can't beat that.
Takahiro, I have to mention to you that I'm watching a series on Netflix called Rise of the Samurai, which is fascinating. It's historical, it's accurate, and it's just fascinating. And I'm loving it.
I'll have to check that out too. Rise of the Samurai, did you say?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Oh, on Netflix. Okay, I've got that. I'll check that out. I realize, of course, since you're looking just to, all these questions I'm reading to you, so you're seeing them. But Jeff Nicholson here said that, let's see, they was, Restless Heart played Fort Wayne with Alabama 3 years ago, and at one point, all 5 of you guys and him were standing beside the stage watching them.
Yes.
And that's cool right there.
And I had my it's my maternal mother's side of the family was there. They were all down from Auburn, Indiana, and the surrounding area. Pam Hostler Rumsey, Gary Rumsey, Karen, I think it was Karen, and Kelly all came down, had a good time.
That's the. Let me see. I was going to ask you on that Alabama. I saw those guys when they were the Alabama band at a little club in town, and man, they really took off fast. It seemed like, and had a really good career. And are those guys? You've been around a bunch. I assume they're all pretty nice folks, aren't they?
They are. They are. Randy and Teddy and Jeff were always very nice. And of course, I got to, Mark and I were drummers, of course.
Right,
so
sure.
We hung out.
Sure.
I think it's unfortunate the way it ended up with Mark.
Yeah.
And the band, but
sure.
He was. From what I understand, he was the 12th drummer that they had.
Wow.
Over the years down at the Bowery, and they didn't make him a partner, and
sure.
He had to fight for a little bit of the profit, and it just didn't end up well between them. And I hate that happened, because we loved touring with them. We had a great time with them, a lot of fun.
Well, that's good to know that. Yeah, it was a bad. I hated that. About Mark. But when I first saw them, I think they had one of their relatives or a cousin or something that played drums. I may be wrong on that, but like you said, they went through a bunch. But when Mark was in the band, that was what I always thought of Alabama.
When they wouldn't let Mark ride the plane,
I didn't know that.
Alabama, they flew home every night.
Mm-hmm.
They had the plane. When they were east of the Mississippi, they flew home every night. When they were west of the Mississippi, they would all rent condos out there in the same place, and the plane would fly them to where they were renting the condos when they were playing the Western United States.
Wow.
And they wouldn't let Mark fly the plane. They said, if you get a pilot's license and we don't have to pay a co-pilot, then you can ride the plane. So he went out and got his pilot's license, and he got rated on the plane. And
really?
That's how he started riding the plane. And Mark went on to become went on to become a private pilot, a corporate Learjet pilot. And he was telling me, he said they just call me whenever they need me, and he said I'm working all the time.
Man, he showed them with what he's going to do.
He's flying corporate jets for a living, so he's not doing too bad.
No, not at all, man. That's an awesome story. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's good to know it ended that way. Let's see, Laura Morgan, Westerfield. John, you never don't have anything to say. You have tons of memories and adventures to pull from. I hope you consider writing again. That's cool.
I might. You never know. I mean, some people have said I should write a book. I don't know.
You should. You should think about that. I mean, things that with you, it's like, well, I did this or did that, is a lot different than what you really understand. That people want to know these stories. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I really am. Hearing a lot of this stuff you told me. I had no idea you guys were on tour with Reba when everything happened, and it's just it's good to hear these stories. But let's see here.
So I got to tell you the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how many people. I consider this to be the coolest thing that ever happened to me. I'm with our manager, Larry Fitzgerald of Fitzgerald and Hartley, and we are at Universal Amphitheater at the Don Henley concert. And I don't know if it was Building the Perfect Beast or whatever it was. It was, back when he was having all those massive hits.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
and Rick Shipp, our booking agent, was there, and we had backstage passes at the Universal Amphitheater, which I understand is no more. They had this huge area behind it that was a backstage area. It was open air, and large. There were tables for the guests, and there were a lot of guests. Henley had a lot of guests there that night. Actually, it was. I ran into Jeff and Mike Porcaro there, the drummer and bass player for Toto, and we talked for a minute. And of course, this was before we played with them in Germany. Mm-hmm. But we had the same management. Our managers managed Toto, and they managed Restless Heart, and they managed a few other people. So, the concert's over, and we're in the back. We make our way backstage, and we're leaving. Well, you go down this narrow covered walkway, and there's this one wooden door with no windows in it. And I go to open the door, and I didn't quite make the doorknob. The door opens, and there stands Jack Nicholson.
Oh, wow.
And he's all in black suit, black turtleneck, black socks, black shoes, dark sunglasses, right? Mm-hmm. So I back up, and I said, "After you, sir." And he smiled, nodded his head, and he walked in and got right beside me, turned his head, flipped up his sunglasses, gave me that Nicholson smile, and went, "Shabop, shabop." Put his sunglasses down and walked on, and I got out in the parking lot with our manager, and I jumped up and down and screamed, "That's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me."
That's awesome. That's awesome. Guys, I mean, you're around so many different people and stuff when you were, out the Restless Heart and stuff. And it's good to hear something like that, because most people's wanting to hear you say, well, it's a certain musician, and that makes it cool because it's, Jack Nicholson, an actor. That's pretty awesome. And he's not just, Jack Nicholson's not just anybody. So that's a killer story right there. Was he just there for Don Henley, or was there anybody else on that show? Was it all Don Henley?
Oh yeah, Edie Brickell.
Oh yeah,
and the New Bohemians opened for him that night. And Edie Brickell, of course, is married to Paul Simon.
Oh yeah, right. Man, that sounds like an awesome show that you went to. Don Henley's just incredible. I mean, you being a drummer, I imagine you have admiration for a lot of stuff he does.
Don is a good drummer. He's not a technically great drummer as far as technique goes, right, but he plays what's right for the song. He's kind of like Ringo in that regard. He plays for the song, and he's one of those guys, just like Ringo. There's no other drummer that could have played for the Eagles but Don. No other drummer could have played for the Beatles but Ringo.
Well, that's true. That's true.
He's one of those players. He's just rock solid, and he plays for the song, and you have to admire him for that.
Oh yeah.
Because, for so many years, I had to do a big drum solo in the show. Because it was something I needed to do, because I thought I had to do it. And the last 10 years, 15 years, well, maybe 20 years, I stopped doing solos because I just didn't have the need to do them anymore. I didn't want to do them anymore.
Right.
We put we put a little bit in the show in the song Hummingbird, which was where I used to do this big feature drum solo where all the guys would leave the stage, you know.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And in that particular part where I normally did the drum solo, one night, just kidding around, I started playing Wipeout. And the audience
loved it.
And Greg came in on the guitar, you know, and the next thing you know, we're playing Wipeout.
Oh, and, that's cool.
And the crowd went wild. And I said, hey, you know what? It's about the audience.
Put it in the show.
Let's put it in the show. And then I talked Larry into coming up back behind the drums and playing a tom-tom thing playing the tom-toms to the song with me. Mm-hmm. And the crowd loved it. So we kept it in the show. It was a big, you know, crowd pleaser for years.
And it's fresh for you guys too to have something a little different, you know.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't realize or don't think, you know, they'll see you guys play and you just blow up playing, you know, just really incredible stuff, but they don't realize so much that, you know, when you're on tour, you do this every night. And sometimes you need something just a little different to make you get excited again about what you're doing, something fresh in the set. And that's really cool that you guys did that. And I have to get on YouTube and see if I can find that somewhere. You know, you can find anything.
You know,
anymore.
I don't know if anybody's put that particular thing up on Facebook.
Well, I'll just Google or not Google Facebook, or not Facebook, but YouTube out Hummingbird, which Hummingbird's one of my favorite tunes, and you guys just scorched that one out when you played it. And then, you know, I know Skaggs did an acoustic, well, not acoustic, he did his band cut on that, which was a little different. But you guys cut, man, was just
thank you.
Was just
hey,
great.
You know what, Mark Lester,
mm-hmm.
who's a friend of mine from out in the West Coast there, up in Oregon,
mm-hmm.
Oregon or Washington, can't remember. It's one of those two.
Mm-hmm.
He said he would love to know how I remember certain fans if he only sees them maybe one time a year. You know, that's a good question. I don't really know why anybody remembers one person specifically
mm-hmm.
over another. It's, you know, when we first started getting big, we'd do these meet and greets and people would tell me their names, and I think this happened with all of us.
Sure.
You're meeting so many people and they're telling you your names that pretty soon the names are literally going in one ear and out the other.
Sure they are. Mm-hmm.
And you know, I remember a lot of faces, more so than I remember names.
Right.
But certain people that I've had a chance to spend a little one-on-one time with after shows are the people that I tend to remember.
Right. Sure.
So
I'm like you. I'm a face person. I mean, people give me a name and I'll say I don't know who they are, and then they'll show me a picture or something on Facebook, and I'll say, oh yeah, I know them real well. You know, I'm like you. I know faces real well, but names really, especially as I get older, names kind of stump me, you know, quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep you very much longer. I just wanted to read a couple
I'm having fun.
Oh, me too, buddy. You know, it's funny. These things are supposed to run like 45 minutes, and we wind up every week. Like I had a friend who's a WWF, WWE wrestler named Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Ricky was on a couple weeks back, and man, we went about 2 hours and something, and we were both, it was just like, you know, sitting in the living room talking. You know, one thing I do, I try to read up on people a little bit, because I've done interviews, and you I didn't have to read up on. I'm a big fan. But, you know, I've done interviews with people that they sit down and they don't know anything about you. They'll talk about something that's just not really, you know, been bluegrass. Well, you know, do you guys Do you guys enjoy playing Rocky Top or something? It's like, man, read up a little bit. And
Yeah.
I try to do that. That's what makes this fun for me, you know. And tonight, just people writing in. Uh, Ray Plezick, I think I keep pronouncing that wrong, but he said, I think Larry Stewart said that John is a great singer, songwriter, and drummer during the band intros, but also said John's great cook and dancer too. You got a dancer in there now.
I think that I think the great cook was Greg Jennings, and the dancer was Paul Gregg. That was part of their intros.
Mm-hmm.
He might have said, well, what Larry did say is that I was lazy. He said, this guy,
he said that.
He said, this guy is so lazy, you wouldn't even believe it. And he said, and he's old. He said, I won't tell you how old he is. But he just took up Medicare 3 years ago.
Man, it's always good to have somebody in your corner like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this, but you were born in 1951, is that right?
I was, yes.
Yeah, I was 62, so you're 11 years older than me. So
I'm gonna be 70 on April 7th.
70. Wow, man.
I never thought I'd make it to 70. I mean, the lifestyle.
Sure.
Like my cousin, the radiologist, told me. She said, your lifestyle is unhealthy at best. Just because you travel and you stay in hotels and you have to eat in restaurants and fast food, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
She said you're not able to eat as healthily as you should.
As you should at home. Yep.
You have to eat wherever you're at.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, I smoked for quite a long time, and that didn't help me.
Mm-hmm.
But that gave me cancer 15 years ago.
What kind of cancer did you have, John?
I had bladder cancer.
Wow, that's not a good one.
Well, the doctor told me, he said, smoking is the number one cause of bladder cancer. And he said, in your case, he said, if you had to get cancer, he said, you got really lucky.
It's the right place.
He said it did not reach the wall of the bladder. It was easy to take out. He said it won't come back any other way in any other place but where it is now. And he said if it comes back, we just take it out again.
Man, have you had any more problems with it?
No, I went and got scoped for about 3 years afterwards. And I 15 years, I think and of course I haven't smoked in 15 years,
mm-hmm.
16 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm pretty much out of the woods as far as that goes. But he said it was a 90% chance if I quit smoking, it wouldn't come back.
Wow.
It was an 80% chance if I continued to smoke. I said, well, I want that other 10%, so I'm quitting.
Stopped immediately, right?
I did, pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Within a week. And it was pretty simple. It was a day surgery. I was in and out. It was pretty small, not very aggressive. Thankfully,
mm-hmm.
we got it early. And thank God for my daughter, because she was in nursing school at the time, mm-hmm. and they were studying cancer.
She helped you a lot, didn't she?
And I told her, what was happening,
mm-hmm.
and she said, you got to go get scoped. And I said, well, a friend of mine had something similar, and it just turned out to be an infection. She says, no, you're going to get scoped. And I got scoped, and sure enough, there it was. It was a very small tumor, not very aggressive, and they took it out a couple days later, and I've been fine ever since, thankfully.
Man, that's awesome. I didn't know.
Thank God for my daughter, because I probably wouldn't have gone.
Man, I tell you,
Eric Carlson is watching.
I just think events in your life are all set up around things like that happen. I mean, you winded up with that, and your daughter being in nursing school. I just think the events in life are kind of set up that way. Because with my cancer, I'll tell you this real quick. It's kind of a weird story. My doctor sent me for a CT of the chest because I'd been sick, And one of
Yeah.
my buddies was, when I went in, one of my buddies was the X-ray tech, and we had went to high school together. So I'd had this knot in my leg, and but I've been real sick, and he did a CT, and he told me immediately, he said your lungs and everything looks good, and I asked him, I said, is there a chance we could maybe scan that a little further? And he said, I can't do that really without without a prescription for it because I'll lose my job. And I said, well, I've got this knot in my leg. And he said, well, we'll do this. I'm going to scan you a little lower. And he said, here's our deal. He said, if we find something, what are we going to do? And I said, well, I don't know. He said, we're going to get rid of this, and you're going to tell your doctor that you think you need to be scanned lower. And I said, okay. And he said, and if we don't find anything, what are we going to do? And I said, well, I don't know on that end. And he said, we're going to delete this file, and we're never going to mention we done it. And I said, that's a good deal. So he scanned me, and he said, I've seen cancer a lot over 20 years, and you've got cancer, and this knot was about to have the size of a golf ball in my leg. And my doctor had been telling me that he thought it was from a prostate infection. He kept giving me antibiotics, and it wasn't helping. So, it's funny, like your daughter and this guy I went to school with, for like 4 years in high school, and he winds up, I walk in, I didn't even know we did x-rays, and he's my x-ray tech. And I probably wouldn't have got that checked out if it hadn't have been him. It would have probably been one of them things again that, hey, it's just a prostate infection and go on with it. And if I'd have done that, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have been here.
Well, I would have done the same thing if my daughter hadn't prompted me to go in.
Yeah.
I would have, the symptoms had abated, and I just probably would have just gone on until it had gotten a lot worse.
Yeah, it's too late a lot of times before you go. But man, I'm glad you're a survivor and doing good. I didn't know that. I know a lot about you.
I'm glad you're a survivor too. Boy, you've been through it.
You
have really been through it.
I've been trying just to hang in with it. It's been 2011 for me, and I'm like yesterday. I had I'm gonna tell you this real quick for anybody that's got cancer. I went into a clinical trial at Vanderbilt, and a lot of people always say, oh, that's a little scary. I don't know if I want to do that, but if that's the only thing that you can do to possibly make you live, you have to do it. So I went into clinical trials, and anyway, it's real funny. The drug that I was on is if not the most popular, one of the very close to the top drugs called Opdivo, which you probably saw the commercials on it. And it makes me feel good because I go in now over at UT Hospital like I did yesterday, and most of the patients in there are on the drug that I was in clinical trials for, and that's what I'm still on. And if anything, I said when I went in clinical trials, this may not work, but maybe they'll find something here that will maybe save my grandkids, my son, or something one day. And it wound up saving me. So I'm glad me and you both are here. We wouldn't be able to be on here talking tonight. Let me hit a few.
I got to tell you. First of all, I know that you have had a real struggle with cancer, and of course being on
Facebook
dialysis.
And stuff. Oh, dialysis. Yeah.
I have to tell you that I follow you and I follow this.
Thank you.
You, my friend, have a lot of courage, and I admire you very much.
Thank you, John. That means a lot, buddy. I mean, really does. I'm like this. I've got to the point. It's not about doing it for me or anything. It's about looking. I looked at a family picture back when I was first sick, and my wife and my son and grandkids, and And I just, I looked at that and I said, I'm not ready to go. I'm ready to do some things. I want to see my grandkids get married one day. I mean, if they pick the right person, I do. If they don't, I don't know if I like that part, but I want to be able to see them grow up and know kind of what their destiny is and stuff. And the same with all my family. And I just got real serious with people. Doctors
Yeah.
would say this is going to be a little tough thing, and I'd say, well, let's just do it. And I guess it's with me, like dialysis has been a hard thing because I've just been through so much with my cancer. And like I had dialysis Tuesday and then cancer infusion yesterday. And then I've been out all day working in the yard and stuff. And it's amazing. Uh, I wouldn't have ever saw myself doing this, but I've just had to kind of toughen up with it. I go get my infusion and then I come home and I forget about it for a month. And but I appreciate you saying that, and I'm proud of you. And it means a lot knowing that you've been following me. That's really really nice. I appreciate you for that. Uh,
Well, I follow you. I'm very interested. I care, and I'm telling you, you're an inspiration because a lot of people would have given up.
well, buddy, I appreciate that. That means a lot. And I've told people before, and you'll understand this being a survivor, but I've told people uh, lately that, or not lately, probably the last few years, where it used to all be about music. I wanted to be this good and be this bad or whatever. But I hope that more than anything that when I'm gone or whatever, rather than somebody say hey, I really liked his music. I hope for people to say somebody in our family uh, saw Phil on Facebook, knew Phil, and it helped him make a decision to get treatment and stuff, because there's a lot of people that will get diagnosed and are still scared to get treatment. And
Yeah,
I hope people see me and say, hey, it doesn't always have to have a bad ending. You just gotta toughen up sometime, because you just got one shot. And my best friend in life, a guy named Steve Gully that traveled
yeah.
with me. He
Uh,
died of pancreatic cancer in August, and I never expected. We rode around all the time, and Steve had a knot in his stomach that a lot of people told me about later seeing it. And his wife always said that Steve, she'd say something about it, and he'd say, "Oh, it's scar tissue from where he had something." Steve would diagnose himself, and he would only go to the doctor if he had problems with his voice, because he wanted to be able to sound good. And she said he'd go to the doctor for that, but for anything else he wouldn't. And I just say, dang, me and him were such good friends. I wish that when this was happening with him and he knew me and stuff and thought, I better go get checked out, but he didn't. And he's got grandkids and all that are young, and I just hate it so much for him. But it's just one of those things. I mean, especially pancreatic cancer, that's one right there that you just can't do much with. And
no, pancreatic cancer is the worst.
it is. It got my dad, and it got my brother, which my brother had testicular cancer, which was a bad one, but I think he
Yeah,
had pancreatic cancer too, and he died when he was
yeah,
22 years old with it. And I think he was 22, and had a son that was a month old, and I was 5, so I didn't really know him. But
yeah.
back then they
Well,
didn't
my
have
my
treatments.
biological father passed from colon cancer
Oh man.
in his early 60s. I never knew him, um, but I when I found my families, I gained another brother and a sister,
Oh, that's cool. That's
and
cool.
they told me the story. So of course I go get the checkup and do the colonoscopy thing, and but I quit eating beef for the most part.
I'm slowing
Um,
down on that myself.
And I was surprised. My last blood work, my cholesterol had dropped 40 points.
No, man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So and of course, eating beef is a big part of a big risk for developing colon cancer. So,
oh, it is.
Hopefully that is going to help me out there. I got to do a quick shout out. Our Eric Carlson is on. Eric Carlson was Restless Heart's front of house sound mixer. He's the guy that made us sound like a record every night. So he's on. If you want to know why we sound like the record,
he's the guy.
Eric Carlson. Eric Carlson is the reason that we sounded like a record.
Man,
hi, Eric.
Man, I saw you guys 3 or 4 times, and that's what I always said is these guys sound just like their records. You guys always did, and I think a lot of that too. I mean, of course, you got to have a sound guy, but you got to have some guys putting some good stuff into the mixing console too, and you guys did that. Yeah, I mean, you guys weren't all you guys studio musicians when you formed, or was that just what I had heard? I mean, I'd heard you guys for the most.
Well, Dave Innes was working pretty much exclusively in the studio, and he was getting master sessions back then. Greg Jennings was getting some master sessions, a lot of demo sessions. He was working in the studio. The rest of us were not studio musicians. Paul and Larry and I were not session guys. I never really liked being in the studio. There are some guys who that's all they want to do. And some guys just are live players. I was always a live player.
Yeah, exactly.
I never really liked the studio that much, and I really didn't pursue that as a career. I wanted to be in a band that made it,
and you did.
So no, the story got around early that we were all studio musicians, and we started taking a lot of flack from the press for that. A lot like the Toto guys did.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Toto got a lot of flack because the band and Toto played on everybody's records in LA. And no, we were not all studio musicians. There were 2 guys that were pretty much earning their living in the studio. The 3 of us weren't. So.
You guys sounded great, and like I said, it always helps to have a great sound man out there in front, making it sound like that, and knowing what you sound like.
And I'll tell you what, you know this, Phil, that your front of house mixer can make you sound really good, or can make you sound really bad. It depends on their expertise, their understanding of the act that they're mixing, their understanding of the records that the act put out. And Eric, really did his homework, and he really figured it out. And I'm going to say he's the best front of house mixer that Restless Heart's ever had.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, it's great he's tuned in tonight. Listen to this, and we've had a lot of people really enjoy us. A guy named Mike Littlejohn.
He's a good friend of mine from Auburn, Indiana.
Well, he said, "What an awesome show! Thanks for sharing your stories." So, it's always good to have your buddies on there too. That get to hear you talk a little bit, because Facebook, it's a big difference between reading people's comments and hearing them talk. And that's the thing cool with me and you tonight is, I had talked to you a little up at Bean Blossom, which it was quick. I mean, you guys were getting ready to play, and we, no, I wasn't playing that week. I was actually a stage manager that week, and I didn't get to talk to you very much, but, it's always good to put a voice with people. And speaking of voice, it's kind of funny. I've tried to find it, and it's not on anything, but there was, I don't know if it was the Bluest Eyes in Texas, but is that the one that's got the scene where you're coming off the bus, and I think it's you that says, how much longer do we have to travel? And you said, is it hours? Is it days? Is it months? You said something like that. I think, was that you, or I got that mixed up with somebody else?
Okay, I got sidetracked typing. What was that? What was that you asked?
Oh yeah, there was a video, and I don't know if it was Bluest Eyes in Texas.
Oh,
You guys are coming off the bus, and
yes, yes.
and you said that real funny thing about how long have we got to go? Is it hours? Is it days? Is it weeks? Is it months?
Years,
Years.
years. Yeah. That was a long form video,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of that wasn't put out to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of stuff in the long form. I found parts of it up on YouTube. And the first mistake that I made in that video was the director said, well, just come off the bus wearing what you would normally wear on the bus at night, you know, when you're just getting off the bus. So, of course, I wore a T-shirt, and I wore these tiny little yellow shorts that were all the rage back then, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the white socks halfway up my calf, and and so I walk off the bus, and I just look like a complete dork when I walk off the bus, you know. And we did some really crazy things. I made up a lot of stuff on the spot, you know. I made up this bit about the Stan Moress Orchestra, and I mentioned Randy Goodman, who was the head of marketing at RCA, as the drummer for the Stan Moress Orchestra, and Stan Moress was our manager at the time. And I just made this whole thing up. I'm looking at this CD in the store, and it was pretty funny at the time.
It's funny how many people will hear things and they'll believe that, you know, and take it for being real. I like that off the cuff kind of stuff. Gotta fix my microphone here. Something's going weird with it. Let's see. There it is.
Eric Carlson says, first off the bus, huh? Wow, things have changed. They had to wake me up and get me off the bus so the bus could move to the venue.
So were you like, could you sleep good on the road? I never could.
You know, I did for most of my career. And then all of a sudden I didn't. And I think it's because when we had to move to 2 drivers because of the federal regulations that drivers couldn't drive over 8 hours.
Right.
And if we had a 9-hour drive, we had to bring 2 drivers.
Sure.
You know. And you got some of these second drivers that went to tractor trailer school.
Oh yeah, there's a big difference on that.
And got a CDL.
Right.
Okay. Well, driving a bus with humans on it's a little different than driving a tractor trailer. And I think we started getting bounced around a lot more, and I think that might have been part of it. But then again, age might have been part of it too. I don't know. I found that I slept much better at home
right.
the last several years than I did on the bus.
Oh yeah, I agree with what you say there. With when we would lease a bus, which we didn't need them much, but we did. When I was with JD Crow, we used them. And we had a real good driver, and I could always tell the difference because we had one that would sub, and he was still a truck driver, and he drove it like a truck. And it's a whole different thing, when you're there, when you can go back there and sleep and not get bounced out of your bunk, or somebody that will drive and cut real sharp and throw you around. It makes a big difference with that.
Well, one of my big fears that I developed the last couple years we were out we had a former road manager and front of house mixer, good friend of ours, was in that bus wreck in California.
Oh wow!
And he was killed. I forget who the artist was. Who was it? Who was it? Who was the artist? Long Black Train.
Yeah, Josh Turner.
Josh Turner
Yeah,
bus
that's
wreck.
right. Yep.
And he was our friend was killed in that bus wreck.
Wow, it's awful.
And one of my biggest fears is, and they don't, to this day, they don't know what happened. They know that the driver never hit the brakes.
Wow.
It must have been a medical emergency. Something happened. The driver doesn't remember anything.
You think he could have fell asleep or anything like that?
Well, they don't know. They don't know if it was. They just don't know. And,
that's awful.
My biggest fear the last couple of years being on the bus was something like that happening to the driver. And I mean, everybody lived, but our friend David.
It's one of those things, man. When you go to bed on there and you're sleeping, you just gotta hope the guy up front, you hear the motors running and everything, and you just hope that that he's good and alert. The thing that always used to scare me is the driver falling asleep or something, and we always had one guy that we never had to worry about that, but when we got a different one, it was like a whole different deal. And we didn't use them, like I said, much, but with J.D. Crowe, we used them quite a bit. And we had, the same guy, and he was one of those guys you could go to bed and not worry about it. And makes a big difference.
Well, back in the day, the only time I ever really got scared was we had a regular driver. Back in the day, we would lease a bus for the entire year, and we had the same driver. And he was a good guy. He was a good driver. Never had an issue. Apparently, he took up with a woman that had a couple of kids, moved in with her, wasn't getting the kind of sleep he needed to get, and he fell asleep at the wheel one night, and he drifted over as a tractor trailer was passing us, and the tractor trailer scraped the side of the bus.
Oh shoot!
And the time before that, we went off the road into the guardrail.
Oh man!
And he said it was black ice. Well, after the tractor trailer scraped us, that was it. I mean, that was.
Did you get rid of him after that? Let him go, or?
Yeah, we had to let him go. We didn't trust him anymore. Yeah. I couldn't sleep the rest of the night. I had to sit up there, and unfortunately, we had to let him go. And it was too bad because he had been a great driver.
Yeah.
And he'd been a good friend too, but we just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, when you don't feel safe and you can't sleep, you got to do something about that. Speaking of buses in the early days, I think you guys had your own early, didn't you? That the reason I asked, they still do this, but over in Hendersonville, they used to have that caravan of buses at Christmas. You remember that? I think they had your bus over there one time, and
Christmas for kids.
It's Christmas for kids now. It used to be caravan of buses. When it was in the parking lot of Hills, remember Hills Department Store?
Yeah.
And I remember my son, man, he was a little boy, and he loved you guys too. And we was going through, and they had all the buses. A lot of them were leasers, but back then a lot of these like Loretta Lynn and all, you knew it was hers because her name was painted on it or something. But my son, about 5 buses down, he spotted your old bus, and man, he just blew by everything, and just to go in there and see, and now I know everyone leases, but I'm glad they still do that, man. That was a good thing then, and a good thing now.
Yeah, well, I know Eric Blankenship, who owns All Access, busing.
Right.
He's got like 55 buses. They're always busy until COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and we had been with Eric. Oh gosh, since Eric began. Eric began in very early 2000s, I believe. I believe he started when Restless Heart got back together in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric has always been a big supporter. And Eric had a lot of the buses out there at that Christmas for Kids. He's been a very big supporter of that.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Hendersonville, I miss living there because there was so much good stuff always going on there in town, there in Goodlettsville, and that was just a good place to live. And man, it's got so big now. I go back and I can't even find stuff. And the whole town's booming. I know that. But buddy, I'm not going to keep you long. I'm going to just read a couple more questions and let you go because man, it's been a great night talking to you and stuff. But I don't want to keep you all day. Yeah, man. Same here. Same here. Let's see. Let me get down. Getting down here a little bit. Said we were.
Marilyn Stoner asked a question about when I told the story about David Turner being killed in the bus wreck.
Mm-hmm.
Was David a brother to Dale? I don't understand the question. Did not have a brother named Dale.
Okay.
I hope that helps. I don't know what Dale she's referring to. Maybe she can type it on.
Yeah, she probably will. It's good that you're on here writing back to people too. So, Marcus Lester, what the hell is a grit?
Yeah, there was a part in that long form video where Blue Skies in Texas video that I go into. I start doing a Brooklyn accent because I'm from New York, upstate New York.
Yeah, yeah.
And I start doing this shtick in a Brooklyn accent. And I go, grits. What the hell are grits?
You're right.
That's what he's referring to.
I've got you. Yeah, I've got you. Well, one of the last comments here, and I'm going to let you go because we just keep getting more and more. This is pretty cool. Jeff Nicholson said, when John decided to retire, I realized just how big a part of my and my wife's life he and the guys have been. And that's pretty cool to know. Sometimes you just go out, I guess, and play music and you go home, but you don't realize all the people you affect while you're out there. And, man, I just want to say I've been a fan for a long time, real long time of you guys' music. And there was always people I drew to in the band. And when the song When She Cries came out, and I saw you, which I knew you always sung harmony, but, I've always been impressed with Don Henley being able to sing and play, Phil Collins, guys like that could do both things because, it's like rubbing your stomach and scratching your head to me. And, man, when I heard you do that just certified everything with me, man, that you were not only, a great drummer, but a great singer, and you could put them both together. And you was a big standout in that band to be. But, folks, I'll say real quick, that didn't know the band, Larry Stewart, Paul Gregg, Dave Ennis, and Greg Jennings, and you. That was the five of you that I look at when I think about Restless Heart. And anyway, buddy, I had some questions wrote down, and you've answered every one of them, and you've answered a lot of fan stuff. And I appreciate you being so considerate.
Well, I have to mention that we have a movie star on here tonight.
Really? Which one?
Jeff Nicholson.
Oh, is that
Jeff Nicholson starred in a movie with Ernest Borgnine.
Okay.
Back in the day when he was in high school, called The Double MacGuffin. And there was a few other stars in that movie as well.
Uh-huh.
But Jeff was actually being considered to be one of the principals on, I believe it was 90210.
Oh, wow.
The TV show. And he said, no, I'm going to law school. and he went to law school, and he's become a very successful criminal defense attorney in Lubbock, Texas.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you never know who's in your
I
news
had to
feeds.
mention that because Jeff's going to stop sending me checks if I don't.
Oh yeah, definitely don't want to miss that, do you?
No.
Well, buddy, look, you have a great night, and thanks again for doing this, and I appreciate it. Okay.
Hey, I had a lot of fun, Phil.
Hey, buddy, same.
And listen, thanks everybody for tuning in, and it's been a blast. And I'm going to miss all you guys. But you know, what can I say? It got too much for me to do anymore. But I am going to miss all you guys, and I am going to think about you.
Well, you left a wealth of music out there for everybody, so they can't complain much.
Well, Phil, thanks a lot, my friend. It's been a lot of fun. And listen, you take care of yourself. I'm watching you on Facebook now.
Thanks, buddy. And always good to talk to you, and especially know you're following me, man. I mean, you guys don't know how much I've looked up to your band, and to hear you're following me, that's a big deal with me. So thank you so much. Okay.
Yep, I am. I'm keeping informed.
Mm-hmm. Well, you take care of yourself, because
right,
I can know what's wrong with you. Be safe.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
See you,
Have
buddy.
a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's good to have John on tonight, and all you folks, and thanks for tuning in. We ran a while, but you know, the thing about it is you get some people in that are so interesting, like John, with good stories, that 45 minutes isn't enough. And I'm always good to run over, because we've kept a lot of people online, so it shows that people were enjoying the show. So, you know, I hope you'll join me back if you've not did this before. Come and tune me in. We have a lot of great guests on here, country, bluegrass, professional sports, different people like that, and you learn a lot. And next week I mentioned that my guest will be Tim Stafford. He played guitar for Allison Krauss and Union Station for a lot of the formative years on that band, and now heads up with the band Blue Highway. So tune in next week. You'll learn a lot of stuff from Tim Stafford. Thanks so much for hanging out so long with us tonight. It's been a great night, and you all have a good one. And I always say, remember all your friends, and there's a lot of people out there right now needing prayer. Look through Facebook, see your friends. And if you see one of your friends that's sick, don't write down, I'm going to pray for you, unless you're really going to. If you write that down, mean it. You know, if you're saying something, whatever, somebody's sick and you write prayers, you know, maybe you mean that, you know, other people are going to be saying them, but hopefully when you write prayers or praying for you, you'll really follow through on that, because, you know, God knows, and that's what matters. So be sure and pray for you, pray for yourself, and pray for your friends and family even more. And God bless you. See you next week. We'll be here same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard and 7 Central on Uncle's Throwback Thursdays with Tim Stafford. Have a good night. Thank you.